So you've probably seen a bunch of real estate gurus on YouTube yelling about how everyone who bought a home in 2022 and 2023, they basically overpaid. They keep talking about how these folks are destined to be house poor. They're saying that you're going to lose everything. And the biggest statement that I keep hearing over and over is, don't be like those people. Well, guess what? I'm one of those people. Nice to meet you. So now let's rewind the clock and talk about it for a second, because I really want you to get a grasp of what's going on here. So back in 2022, my family and I were renting. And this is after the Texas blizzard we had. It was crazy, just pandemonium. Now, I don't know if you know, but the storm was a disaster, right?
Total nightmare file.
Now, we owned property at the time, but, they were income properties. And we had just sold one of them because we were going to free up some equity and then buy the home that we live in now. Now, with me being an investor and an agent, I saw how low interest rates were at the beginning of 2022. And trust me, if I could have jumped in even sooner, I would have. We needed like 3,000 square feet and a couple other bedrooms, as me and my wife both work from home. With me being an agent, I knew how much of an opportunity it was to take advantage of these low interest rates at the time, even though prices were extremely high. I run comps every single day for a living, so I could see that these homes were a bit overvalued in comparison to just a few years prior. But I really knew there were some underlying things in this market that a lot of people really don't even think of. You see, we bought this house right here for $500,000, and today it's probably only worth $475,000. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this was a strategic, emotional decision. I'm not gonna sit up here and lie like it wasn't tied to an emotion, right? And as a real estate professional, that's usually a recipe for bad decisions.
And I'm not bad. I just made bad decisions.
You see, when your feelings get all involved, you tend to make rash choices that usually don't work out the way you want them to, right? You get all in your feels, you get locked into what you want, and there's no wiggle room for any type of the issues that you're going to end up dealing with in the future, whether it be from the buying process or just home ownership in general. Now, the builder that we chose was grade A, right? That was one of the perks of me helping so many families here in Dallas. It just gave me the inside scoop on which builders to avoid and which builders should deserve our business. I've heard and seen horror stories, whether it be people calling me to sell their home or just a new family relocating to Dallas. I've been there for the ins and outs of inspections, so making sure we picked the right builder was paramount. Now, we found this great home in a great community. It had everything that we wanted, right? And we were really just over the moon, because in that market, it was really tough to get your offer accepted. But here's the catch, right? We definitely overpaid. And I ain't gonna lie, that stung a little bit. Yeah, more like a lot of bit. For the first year, I would glance at the comps every couple of months, and it just kept going down and down. And when interest rates shot through the roof, the market slowed down considerably, and our home's value just kept sinking. And I ain't even gonna front. That shit stressed me out a little bit. Like I said before, I'm not here to scare you. This isn't about making you regret buying a house right now. It's about educating you and preparing you with the right type of mindset for today's market. Because today's price is not yesterday's price, and tomorrow's price is really unknown. But before I tell you about the silver lining and all this, let me break down where we went wrong. First off, we bought our house in the craziest, most inflated market of all time. I started in real estate back in 2012, and all I knew was an up market. I just assumed prices would keep climbing. I felt like they fixed all the issues that caused the crash of 2008, right? We rushed, right? We were thinking that if we didn't act fast, we'd miss out due to the rising interest rates and the prices, and we were partly right. Interest rates did go up, but house prices didn't keep rising. Now, another regret is not making a higher down payment, right? You see, my wife was in the Air Force, so we took advantage of the VA loan. And with me being an agent, my commission was just enough to cover the closing costs. So in essence, we bought this home with nothing down and nothing out of pocket. It was, in essence, free. Now, in hindsight, we probably should have put at least $25,000 down, which would have given us a bigger cushion, and the drop in our home's value, it wouldn't have hurt as much. We wouldn't have to worry about paying out of pocket if we decided to sell this house right now. So our three major regrets were rushing to get into this market, not making a large enough down payment, and then buying in this crazy market. Now, even with those three big mistakes, we're still going to win big. Remember when I said this was a calculated emotional decision? Well, when I bought, I researched a number of different areas around the Metroplex, looking for the ones that's going to be seeing a lot of appreciation in the future, but at the same time, still affordable. Now, places like Frisco, Prosper, and Salina, they'll see a lot more appreciation. There's no question about that. And those areas are definitely the king of the hill when it comes to the appreciation conversation. But to even get started in those areas, you need to have a $500,000 budget just to begin with. And that's going to put you in a, 3 to 4 bedroom, 2 bathroom, maybe 2,400 square feet. Look, I have a family of 5, so that just wasn't going to be enough space, right? We needed something more like 3,000 square feet, and this provided all of that for the exact same price. But when it comes to what we're going to be dealing with going going forward in America from a housing perspective, home ownership is going to get a lot more expensive. So the areas with the affordable housing will see an increase in popularity and an increase in appreciation. Just think about this. If the top of your budget was $600,000 and you have a family of 6, would you rather spend it on a home that's 2,400 square feet or 3,000? And that's really what I'm starting to see from a lot of my clients with budgets between 5 to 700K. Yeah, they can afford to live in these upper echelon areas, but for more house, they'll move to other areas that are just as safe with the good schools, but just maybe not as famous as Frisco and Plano. And if you add in these affordable areas, you can buy a brand new house for $350K. It's a recipe for these suburbs and communities to just see a boom when rates come back down. You see, from a demographic standpoint, the next age group to start buying homes is going to be millennials and Gen Zs. And by the numbers, this will be the largest home buying population that we've ever seen in America. Now, it's a little bit harder for them to buy homes right now, but when you take into consideration that we've been short over 5 million homes in the U.S. since the 2008 crash, inventory is just super low because, people don't really want to sell their homes with a 2% interest rate. There's only going to be so many homes to go around, right? And then it really just comes down to supply and demand. The housing slowdown that we've experienced is really artificial in nature. And I know what you're thinking. For those of you who don't feel that way, ask yourself this question. If the Federal Reserve was to lower interest rates to 4.5% right now, what do you think would happen? It'd be a friggin' frenzy. Well, the Federal Reserve is about to start lowering interest rates at their next meeting here in September. It's already announced. People are already betting on it. They're saying it's a 100% chance it's happening. And then right after that, the election is coming up, and historically, rates tend to drop around that time. And with the forecast pointing towards us being in a low 5% mortgage rate by the end of 2025, prices will start to creep back up, 3 to 5% per year as far as your appreciation goes. So that $25,000 that we lost will be right back in our home in about 2 years. And here's the thing, we don't plan on moving for the next 4 years anyway. And when we do move, we won't be selling this property. We're gonna hold on to it, make it a rental property when we move on to the next one. We want our kids to grow up with stability, community, and their friends in the neighborhood. So as we forecast long-term, things are gonna be just fine, but sometimes the short-term can be a little painful. So let's talk about what I would do if this was gonna be my first time buying a house, right? This is me talking to the millennials and the Gen Zs. So first off, you got to take your emotions out of this purchase, right? Listen, 9 times out of 10, your first home is not going to be your last. I think the biggest mistake I see people make is trying to find every little thing that they want in their very first home. And I'm going to be honest with you, that's just not a reality anymore unless you got a really big budget. You're going to find yourself sorely disappointed, and that's just a setup for failure. You really need to manage your expectations, right? The median homes right now, they're going to be older and they're going to need some upgrades. These are the homes that are going to fall in the more of the $300,000 to $400,000 range. Now, there are pockets where new construction homes are at this price point, but please believe they won't be like that forever. In the next 5 to 10 years, affordable new construction may be a thing of the past. Let me tell you this. I have a saying I tell my boys all the time. It ain't fair, but it's your responsibility. And here's a little bit of truth, right? The only way to own your dream home is to own a home. So let me explain that. So with home prices going up like they have, the people who I've seen be really successful with buying are the ones that are actually selling a home and purchasing a new one using the equity that they got from the first one. That's where their down payment's coming from, that's where their closing costs are coming from, and the funds they're gonna need in order to be able to move. You see, it's much harder to save that type of money to buy a house right now with the type of wages that you're receiving from your job. Wages really haven't kept up with inflation, but home prices definitely have. So owning a home for at least 5 to 10 years is the way that you get to your dream home. Now let's talk about what we did right that you can learn from. Our dream house wasn't our first house. And quite frankly, this isn't our dream house either. Like I told you, we'll be here for another 4 to 5 years and then we're gonna move on to another house. But in the meantime, when the market turns around, we'll build equity in this one. And when we move, we'll rent this one out, create some more cash flow, and this will be a new source of income. Not to mention all the crazy tax benefits you get from owning real estate, which really offsets the income I make from selling houses. Now, what I'll do is take the money that we save in taxes and use that for the down payment on our next property. It's really a game. It's something like Monopoly, guys. So the key is to start small and gradually move up over time. You want to get a home that you may not be in love with, but you'll be able to start building that equity for your next house. Another smart move would be to build a nest egg, right? You want to pay off some debt, save as much as you can, and live below your means. Now, I know that live below your means statement tends to rub a lot of people the wrong way, but it's just factual, right? Don't be stupid. And finally, we made sure our monthly payment was under 30% of our take-home pay. That's net after taxes, not before. Both of us work and we're really not materialistic type of people. All of our cars are paid off. All of our cars are at least 10 years old, except for this newest one we have. We planned for the possibility of one of us losing our jobs. So we wanted to make sure that we could survive on one income if needed. Now, I understand not everybody can do this, but if you can, it's definitely a great safety net. So how do we cope with our house being overvalued and not worth what we paid for it? We just stop fixating on it. I stopped checking Zillow, I stopped checking all the comps every other day, and I just realized that we're at this portion of the real estate cycle and it is what it is. Do I have regrets about buying a house? Nah, not really. I've learned a lot through the process of going through my first real estate downturn, but I know over the long run, this will be a great investment for the future. You can really never go wrong with buying real estate because it's going to go up over time as long as you own it. Remember, you really just want to enjoy your home and don't fixate on the market fluctuation, right? Life is too short to spend doom scrolling through Zillow. Celebrate your accomplishment of being a homeowner and just live your life.